Please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Today is August 5th, 2021. This is the Environmental Conservation Board. We have an agenda that we're going to follow. The first item is an extension of wetland permit. I do not see Paul here right now, so we're going to put that on the back burner. The next item, item number 2, Frank Roa, 96 Westlake Boulevard. Can you please state your name and tell us a little story?
Good evening, I'm Willie Basharat representing Mr. Roa and the application to install a swimming pool in their backyard. Should I start?
You can start.
Okay, we are proposing an in-ground swimming pool at the home located in 96 Westlake Boulevard. We chose the site in the backyard where it is. Number one, it's the backyard. Number two, it's the only space that we really can fit a swimming pool. The front yard, as you see, it's occupied by many things, including the septic system and the expansion area. The other side of the house has the well in it, and that's the spot which works out perfectly for them because right off the porch and the back of the house.
Is this an in-ground pool or an above-ground?
It's an in-ground pool. The house as it exists, it's completely within the wetland buffer or
Yes, it is.
pretty substantial. We have been in front of this board back in 2010, I believe, for a wetland permit that was granted for an expansion of the existing for the expansion, the existing house.
The existing house?
Yes, we put an addition on it and the major renovation that took place with it.
Okay, well, that's a little different than putting a pool in, right?
Correct. The swimming pool now, it's really, as you see, we try to push it as close as possible to the house to minimize the impact, and every attention to detail will be taken during the construction to make sure that nothing is going to interfere with the lake. And I don't know if any members of this board has been to the house or in that area. The house is in immaculate, is in absolute impeccable condition, landscaping and everything else that go with it. And again, I will reiterate that we have no other place to really put the swimming pool except there.
Okay, so you need to add a very, because here's my concerns, right? I mean, you're right. You're about 200 feet from the lake. Okay, so I don't see an area, I need a construction sequence for the work right off the bat. I need a stockpile location. And I need to see all the details for when you stockpile soil.
The stockpile basically is going to be a small amount of dirt that's going to be.
It's 576 cubic feet.
Oh, I already did the calculation.
Yeah, I
Thank
did the
you.
math. So
Okay.
that's, if I convert that to, oh man, it's been a while. 577
No problem. Construction sequence, stockpile,
times divided
detail.
It's about, it's like 2 truckloads of soil. So I don't think you're gonna, see, here's my concern, right? I also wanna see the route, the route that the machine is gonna take to get into the back there, and what you're gonna do for restoration.
Okay.
And then I want to see, I need to see spill kits. I need to see where the machine's gonna be stored at night. I need to see a fueling plan.
Say that again, the last item?
Fueling plan?
Fueling plan?
Fueling plan.
Fueling.
Fueling, like when they fill up the excavator or whatever they're gonna dig this hole with, I need to see how they're gonna fuel it, because I don't want them to fuel it near the lake,
I no problem with that.
okay? I also need to see a restoration plan
That's for the,
for when they bring the machines in and out.
Yep.
The way I'm looking at it is they're probably gonna take down that wood picket fence, I would think, but then they're gonna drive over the SSTS. So I need to see the route that they're gonna take, and you're gonna have to protect the SSTS.
Of course, yes.
So I'd like that staked out as
Okay.
part of your condition. I'd like the surveyor or whatever to encase that whole area with orange silt fence.
construction fence.
Yeah, construction.
Well, that, we can give you stakes if you want to.
Whatever, stakes.
But during the construction, we will call for
Well-
the construction
Well,
fence to
because
be,
of you
to
have,
delineate the
you
route.
need to delineate the SSTS.
They could also delineate just the route, right? Meaning if they put it, like,
Well, as long as we can show it,
Well, here's the thing. If I'm coming in here,
yeah,
and I'm coming down through here, okay? I need to identify these three corners,
all right.
right? To make sure, and the three corners,
it's no problem. I don't understand exactly your point, you know, which is, we agree with it 100%. You know, I mean, you need to protect the septic system.
Right.
We don't want machine to go over it. Their plan is to use a small machine really
and
to
you
go
need to
through
tell
that.
me how big this the proposed patio is, because you're gonna have to provide us with, wetland mitigation,
Well, if you
measures.
notice, well, the wetland, the patio, we are looking for pervious.
okay, but
pavers to be
still,
used.
now I've lost the pool.
Say that again?
I've lost the pool, right? So the area of the pool is 18 by
Okay.
32, so I've
So
lost
you
that
want wetland
5.
mitigation for that?
So I need that, and then.
All right,
the
we-
permit-
the-
you have to look at this, the patio and the pool as one unit, right? As
Yeah.
one area disturbance.
All right,
Now,
so
what
we'll
I'd also
calculate-
like to do is I'd also like to know the area of disturbance. I need to know the square footage, because you're
Okay.
showing a proposed patio. I don't know the size of the patio. Are we under 5,000 square feet?
Yes, it is.
So then I need to see the math.
Okay. Okay. Anything
So it's
else?
good with the pervious pavers, I see that gravel base, right, okay. With the space, with the current dwelling that you have there, how is the water where's the water going from the leaders and everything? Is it just being dumped onto the grass there, like how, the gutters?
That I cannot answer off the top of my head, but I can try and find out for you.
Reason I'm saying that is that's usually a very easy way to recover, to put some sort of mitigation, is if you catch one of the leaders coming off the house, and it at least covers the amount of area that you're being disturbed or removing from the buffer, in this case, the size of the pool. You can put a rain garden at the end of the leader, and then you usually
Okay.
can make up for it, something along
We
those
will,
lines.
we'll look at both. I think that'd be the easiest way to compensate for the swimming pool. It's easier than to catch any runoff from that, which is, that's what we usually do, is take it from the roof line. Like I said, I cannot answer where the roofs are going. I will take a look at that, and I can answer it for you better.
Excellent.
Yeah, you're gonna have to show some sort of wetland mitigation, right? You have to show either
Yes.
a rain garden, you're gonna have to show
Infiltrator,
whatever,
yeah.
infiltrator, but you're so close to the lake, I don't know if that.
Is the
I think
only-
a rain garden will be nicer, you know, it's part of a landscape.
Well, then
It-
you're gonna have to
and
show.
we have the room
You have
for
to
it.
show mitigation, and I'm gonna leave it at show it mitigation,
We'll-
which
we'll-
means
we'll
now you're
definitely
gonna have
do
to
that.
show calcs for mitigation. And you'd have to show how much, you know, what you're planning to plant, and you have to show a detail of the.
Okay.
And these pavers, they're gonna be placed in gravel
In
base.
gravel base, yes.
I see that right? You're going to be planting seed underneath the gravel, the pavers?
They would like to do it more like, make it look grassy, the area, you know, and then, you know, usually that's done, and then they put, like topsoil in there a little bit.
Kinda like they did over
and
at the
put plugs
library.
of, sod in there usually, that's how
Got
it's
it.
usually done,
Okay.
all right?
Anybody think of
Is
anything
there
else?
with the pool, so is there going to be any sort of concrete collar around the pool?
There will be a little concrete apron, yes, you know, with the connection, they just, you know, like about a foot or so.
Okay, just make sure that's included with the
It's
square
standard,
footage
yes.
of the pool.
Uh-huh.
Is there any additional, aside from the pool and that apron, is there any additional new impervious surface being created? Maybe?
No, no.
What about for
If
the
you notice,
pads
it's
that-
coming right to the deck, they're gonna come from the deck onto it.
Okay, so the steps that are coming down, they're gonna go right onto these
Exactly, they are,
pavers.
yes, they are there already.
Great. And the pool equipment area I see you have on here, that's outside the buffer. Are you going to be putting down slabs for that? Just for curiosity.
Well, it's gonna be a precast, like it's a fiberglass slab that they put under.
Got it, okay.
And they're very minimum because it's gonna have a salt water, so it doesn't need no backwashing or anything like that. It's like,
And if they store the machine within that wetland, and we really don't want the machine stored in that area.
You talking about this machine?
will have it stored for the couple of days they're gonna be digging.
Okay, well then then when they store it at night, it has to be put on 6 mil poly.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to put a note on here.
So I also, with your fueling plan, just as one of the things we generally ask is that you add a note on here as part of your fueling plan, that no fueling inside the buffer. Like you drive the vehicle out
If
to
they're
the,
gonna fuel it, we'll make sure that the fueling is gonna be on the driveway,
Great.
on the 6 mil poly. Like, again, you know, if you drive in that area, take a look at that house, it is impeccable, and
I'm
every.
sure it is.
No, the reason why I'm saying this is because every precautionary measure will be taken to make sure that there will be no damage, no spills, none of that stuff,
okay.
okay?
Any planting with this? I see
Well, he's
there's,
gonna have to provide that.
aside from the rain garden, are you doing any other planting? I see there's 2 trees, those are existing on the left
Yeah,
side of the property?
those, the property really is, like I said, it's very, very well landscaped, and most of the landscape will remain. There is no really plan to landscape around it. It's gonna be just the patio around the pool is gonna just blend in with the existing backyard and become part of it.
Got it.
Okay?
I'd like to also maybe recommend that your silt fence, which I see kind of goes around the pool, instead of,
Goes across the entire, it goes across the
Yeah.
entire
Yeah,
length
we're
of
doing the whole.
property.
I thought we.
does it?
Yeah, it goes right across the entire length of the property.
entire backyard.
Goes from here to here.
That's silt fence? I
Yeah.
saw the S.
That's it.
Oh, okay, I saw it up here too,
That's
so I
SF.
thought it was this going around like that.
No, it goes right here.
It's too, okay,
Silt
fine.
fence.
Excellent.
Okay?
Never mind.
All right.
And you just may want to protect the well. Provide some protection around the well.
Okay.
All right, make the changes.
Oh, one other item.
What do you got?
Lines. We're from the pool equipment down to the pool. Can you please add where you're gonna be putting the lines,
Yeah,
inflow
the
and
service
outflow?
lines for the pool equipment.
And in your scope of work, you're also going to put in there, after the silt fence is installed, you're going to call the wetland inspector and have him check it.
Is there any electrical being run to the pool?
To the pool, no, it's gonna be run to the, well, I'm sorry, I take that back. Yes, there's gonna be a low voltage for the LED lighting in the pool itself, yeah.
Okay.
That'll probably be within that.
Also the filtration.
I thought too.
You're gonna have electric for the filtration.
Yeah, for the.
That's
for the-
outside the buffer
No,
though.
that's outside the buffer, but, you know, the lighting itself in the pool, and nowadays it's all
Sure.
LEDs, very, very minimum amount of electricity.
Yeah. Yeah, if you know where you're going to be putting that, if you could add that on there too, just as a line and a note.
Well, it's gonna go with the line, it's gonna go probably within the same trench that they're gonna be putting for the wetland, for the pool equipment.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
See you. See you soon.
Okay, we'll see you in the next meeting.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anything? No, okay, there you go.
Anybody have anything else?
No.
All good? Thank you, sir.
You too.
Enjoy your evening.
Also, I'm very happy to see that that you're using impervious pavers. Good
Yeah,
choice.
you know what, it's like they want that look, or like quite green, you know, like it blends in with it.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, is a great look for around swimming pools instead of a concrete thing.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody get me this back. Guess this is a hold. This can go there. Next is, number 3 is GNF subdivision gateway in the fairways, 2054 Route 6 Carmel. Disturbance associated with grading and stormwater management and associated activities. Oh, boy, this is gonna be a good one.
Yeah,
This is a doozy.
it's a big one. A lot of stuff going on.
Did you get in trouble? Is that why you're here?
No?
Or they want to get in trouble?
Oh, like loaded. Yeah.
Neither, actually. Dawn
Oh, this
Lewis.
is one set of drawings.
There are 4 plan sets as part of the package. There's one for the Gateway,
We're good over here.
Gateway Housing Project. There's one for Fairways Housing Project. There is one for the GNF subdivision. And then we've also provided one consolidated trail plan for the trail that's proposed within the wetland buffer. By the way, I'm Dawn McKenzie from Insight Engineering, registered landscape architect, here tonight representing GNF subdivision and the Gateway and Fairway projects.
Okay.
So you weren't here at the last meeting. Did you want me to give you a summary of
Sure,
what we
that'd
got
be
going
great.
on and what we talked about
We had
last
an
week?
extended meeting with this one. When you were talking.
Sure.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. No,
Hey,
if I-
Dom,
No.
Dom, you want to check the equipment?
Do I have the mic working?
Yep, it's working.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Voice, yeah.
So this is actually a good plan to give you an overview of the project, right? So back in 2007, I believe it was, the planning board approved a 7-lot subdivision for GNF. And that would create 7 lots in the CBP and, in the zoning districts over here. So we've got 7 lots, it's on Route 6. And as part of that, it would create it approved a subdivision road plan, so there would be a town road constructed to lead to Lot 6 and Lot 7, which is the Gateway Summit project and the Fairways project. And it would also feed some of these other lots internal to the site. At that time, what they did was they constructed the New York State DOT improvements and the entrance to the town road.
That's the
And
one on the left-hand side by that light.
Yeah,
There's
it's-
a gate there.
yes, it's just up the hill from, I always say Flying Arrow or Old Route or 6N, right? Old 6N. So, right, that's where this is. There's actually a traffic light there that's not working yet. And they had done that initially because I believe there was talk about putting a hotel on Lot 1. You know, it's an old thing, and that lot was sold, and that was the beginning of this, and they needed to get those out of the way. And then trail improvements were done for the bike trail along here since then. And that's where it's at. As part of that, I'll just lift this up. So this is actually the entrance to the subdivision road project. And at that time, when we got site plan approval for all of these projects, there was also a wetland permit issued for this work, for the disturbance within the wetland buffer associated with construction of the subdivision road and some of the stormwater basins on some of the lots at the beginning of the site. At that time, though, there was no disturbance proposed within the DEC wetland buffer for the Fairways project or for Gateway. And since that time, they've added recreation components to the Gateway project and the Fairway projects, which have been approved by the planning board. And we also have gotten a permit from New York State DEC for those improvements because they're along the DEC wetland and the lake at the bottom of the site, which actually you can't see on this plan. Sorry, I jumped ahead. There's a lake here in a DEC wetland that's also regulated by the town of Carmel, and then there's a water course at the beginning of the site, and all of those, I highlighted the edge of that in blue on this plan. And the orange lines, if you can see them from where you're sitting, represent the 100-foot buffer along that. So the recreation improvements that I'm talking about, they did the construction at the entrance, and the permit expired, and they didn't renew it. The wetland permit, but they've been keeping up on all the other permits for the project. And so now they've asked us to come back and get the wetland permit approved again. And the only thing on this that you hadn't seen before or that hadn't been permitted previously is the trail improvements down here along the lakefront and within the DEC and town regulated buffer. So there's also a piece of wetland up here.
So let me ask a question.
Yes.
Lot 6A up on the left.
Yes.
Those homes are there?
They're not. None of these homes have been constructed yet. This is still an undeveloped
So what
site,
do you
except
want-
for the entrance.
So you're here to get us to approve work on the fairways and lots 6B and 5, or 6A, 5, 6B, and 7?
So what we've got is, we'll go back to this plan. So as part of the subdivision road approval, the project is required to install stormwater basins. So this one was actually installed under the previous approval. When they did the entrance to the site, they constructed this stormwater basin. And there was some encroachment into the buffer for that. That's already been constructed on the original permit. That was done a number of years ago. But now, if they're going to, when they're ready to move forward with the subdivision road, they need to construct these stormwater basins because they are associated with the approval for the subdivision road.
Okay.
They are incidentally on lot 5, but they were approved as part of the subdivision road project.
Okay.
Okay, and they get constructed because they're required for the town road,
So on
the road
map
that needs to
right
be
there,
constructed.
Where does the road end right now?
So the road actually comes to this point and it stops right here.
Right.
But they had installed this stormwater basin, and actually this stormwater basin originally, and the reason they did this one is because they sold lot 1. They were going to sell lot 1, so they needed to get that done in support of the road before it's done, before it was sold, or as part of that, to move and get this intersection improvement done
Okay.
at that time. So that's why these two were constructed. And there's also, water and sewer were brought down here to support this, things like that. That was all done a number of years ago.
Okay.
But now, there's been, the market's getting better, and there's other things going on, and it may be that they're looking to move forward with this, so they want to make sure that we get the wetland permit renewed. So that's why we're here
So all
talking
you
to you
want
about
to do is
this.
basically extend the road from where it stopped to that road that's shown on that drawing with those catchment basin detention ponds. That's all you're looking to do right now?
So, well, we're looking to get the wetland permits for Gateway and Fairway also renewed or approved for the trail
Well, if they've
improvements proposed for
expired,
that.
it's new.
Right, so it's new, right, so we put in a new application, right. But the only piece that the board hasn't seen before from the previous permit is the trail improvements for Lot 6 and Lot 7, which I can show you what they
I've been on
are.
this board for 10 years, and I do not remember this project,
Okay,
okay? I've been here for more than 10 years, and I've never seen this project.
okay.
So, to me, it's either Groundhog's Day.
Nope, that's
or-
fine. So we're looking at it like it's new to you.
Right.
And a
Okay.
lot of this construction is not at all in our purview, right? Because there's a,
Here's the 100-foot
right.
buffer,
So it's literally a small part of this road is in there,
right?
and a trail that they want to put down by the river, by the stream and by the lake over there, and the little building they were building that's outside of the buffer, but there's a trail to it. So there's not that, like, all of this.
Yeah, I can
is
bring my board and
incidental.
show it to you. I have the big pages from the trail plan all highlighted up to
Okay,
show
because
you
here's
what those.
my-
Yeah,
here's my concern
And
with
I
the
just want to
trail.
talk to you about this piece too, just because there's grading for those stormwater basins within the buffer, so,
Okay, so here's my concern, right?
yes,
So you're showing all these trails that run through the buffer.
Yes.
Right? My concern is there's another certain developer who has built trails and stuff on another site close to this site. And I, every once in a while, have folks coming here who are not very happy about it. So I would really like to have these trails, I don't want you in the buffer.
okay,
Because then I'm going to have, very unhappy folks here when things aren't maintained, okay? Because you're gonna build this, it's gonna be built, they're gonna use it for a while, the builder goes away, these things aren't gonna get maintained. Or, the worst-case scenario, I make them put a 20-year bond at $500,000, and this way we guarantee it's maintained. So these are things that I'm really concerned about, because I'm here when they're, I have a room full of people, we don't have pitchforks and torches, but I have some very concerned citizens here for a particular place that they live in. So I'm really concerned with you putting anything in the buffer. I know building the road, I get it, that's a road. The detention basin, that orange line is the buffer, correct?
the orange line is the buffer, right, and this is
Okay.
not the entire
No,
project,
and I
this is
understand that.
just.
So for that,
Yeah,
so that
they're on a
little
separate
area
plan.
right here, just
Yes.
before I get to this turnaround, where the proposed bus shelter is on the next page, I'm thinking that's everything in there. You're only looking at maybe that little jog right down at the bottom where the orange crosses.
Yeah, we have a
Well,
little, this piece here.
That piece there.
There's a little bit
that
here.
piece there.
Right, and there's this section right here.
Right, so I need the calculations of how much area of disturbance you're doing in those, so you can mitigate it for us in the future, right? So after you build this, if you've disturbed 1,000 square feet, how are you gonna make that 1,000 square feet up right,
Okay,
right? Because you're gonna be in the, you're in the wetlands, the buffer.
we're in the buffer, that's correct.
So I need to mitigate, I know you're putting in detention ponds and everything else,
We are,
but, I need to show, I'm putting in this detention ponds, which is equal to X, but I'm disturbing Y. My net extra is X minus Y, and I'm in the positive side, right? You agree?
so you're looking for mitigation within the buffer equivalent to the amount of disturbance.
Correct.
Okay, so one of the things we were asked to do is review the, when we were here last week, we were asked to go out in the field and review the conditions of the edges of the stream in this area. And we did that. We put together photo documentation, which we included as part of the submission. And some evaluation in there with a key map to
Well,
describe
like I
what the,
said, again,
to
I'm just-
describe what the condition of that is.
I
And,
mean, you can always, you can really, if you adjust that road one way or another, you can stay out of the buffer.
so,
You can adjust that area to stay out of the buffer. right?
If we could have adjusted it to stay out of the buffer, we would have stayed out the buffer when we originally designed it. We don't go into a project and say, oh, let's see how little we can disturb in the buffer. We go in and say, can we avoid disturbance in the buffer? And if we can't, then we do the minimum that we can do. There's actually an engineered slope going in this location to minimize disturbance in the buffer. There's a,
But that whole
there's a
slope-
cutoff swale.
That whole engineered slope is being constructed in the buffer, because what's the elevation of that road in comparison to the surrounding? What's the grade over there? How much higher is the road gonna be from existing? 6 feet? Couple feet? I don't know, I can't see.
Oh, how much fill are they placing? Yeah, they're building, this whole area is in fill, because they need to, so
Plans?
this road climbs pretty steeply to get up here, so that they can get up to the sites.
I get it, I understand it, so you're building up that area.
We are, but that doesn't mean we can't shorten the road.
No, I'm not saying to shorten the road, I'm just
That's
saying.
so if we were to shift the road this way, we'd have to shorten the road, and it would get steeper, and then it wouldn't meet the requirements of,
I understand,
of the
but what I'm
town
saying
code
is
for the
down that
road.
bottom area, where you're putting in the amount of fill that you're putting into that road,
Mm-hmm.
there's got, now you're disturbing the buffer, you're adding different you're adding structural materials in that area that are not, in the buffer or whatever. I'm just trying to, whatever you're disturbing in the buffer, we have to make up somewhere else. You
Okay.
can leave the road the way it is, just give me the numbers of what you're disturbing.
Okay.
That's what I need to know.
I can tell you what we're disturbing. I have it
know,
written down.
Perfect.
We can provide that to you. Okay, so one of the other things that we looked at is opportunities for providing mitigation planting. So if you look at the photos that we provided for the edge of the stream bed, for the stream banks, we provided them digitally. They're actually easier to see that way, but I printed them a little bit bigger. If this will be helpful, I will gladly share those. And so each of the numbers for the photos are keyed to the area on the key map of where they are. And I believe Area A is where we looked at the stream bank. I believe it's either Area A or Area B. Right. So it's actually the stream bank is in really good condition. It's got some rock outcroppings, it's got a lot of ferns and existing vegetation, and it's very stable. And our concern is if we try to do additional plantings in there, it could,
Make it worse.
it could make it worse. It could impact what's already a stable stream bank.
Fine.
So,
That was one
just
of the,
something to
that was
think
one of the
about.
things I had requested, since they're doing
Yes.
all this grading over here, I had concern about the stream bank, and also as part of mitigation of the, mitigation of the trail going in, we asked for a couple of different things. One of them was stream bank stabilization, if it needed it anywhere, and plantings along the stream bank, if it could, in this case, we asked the applicant to go out and view the stream bank, and that's where all these photos are from.
Pardon me for coming in so close. If you guys want me to put my mask on, I will
No,
gladly.
it's fine.
Okay.
There were a few other things too, Bob, just to mention from last time. We didn't talk too much about moving the road.
No,
as
I'm
you
not
just
talking
did,
about.
or
Okay,
shifting it.
you just said if we
Everybody-
shifted it one way or the
No, I'm
other,
just
but we
saying-
can't.
No,
Yeah.
and you're misquoting me. I said,
Okay.
if you looked at the road possibly shifting it to avoid going into the wetland buffer, maybe you can avoid doing all this area here, over in this area. I was thinking if that curve could have gone up to maybe to stay out of the buffer, that's the word I said, but you're telling me you can't do it, so I'm accepting the fact that you
Okay.
can't do it. And what I'm trying to say to you is, I need to know the area over here. I need to know the total square area of disturbance within the buffer so that we can mitigate that
Okay,
in the end and show me how A equals B, okay? That's what I'm trying to find out.
okay. I will provide you with those numbers, and so another thing that we looked at, if you walk through the woods there, it is pretty densely wooded, the entire buffer area. This place is forested. And so it makes me wonder, well, what opportunity is there to do mitigation? That's my concern. And then when you get further down, all along, when you get to the wetlands, so this is the water course, right? And we showed you photos of the condition of that, and that was actually adjacent to where, where the work is proposed. So when you get to the wetland and further down, where the wetland is along the edge of the lake, which I can show you on the other plan, it is so densely vegetated in there that you can't even see the lake through the vegetation.
You don't necessarily have to do the mitigation in this area.
Right.
It can be done somewhere else, right?
Okay, but you're looking for it for somewhere within the buffer.
Within the project. Within the project.
Okay, but not necessarily in the buffer?
Or put rain gardens or
Okay.
do something to,
Yeah, that was something we didn't explore last time you were here, but certainly doing any sort of mitigation and doing that outside the buffer as part of the plan
You're
can be done as well.
Okay, so another thing, which I'm sure you hear all the time, but we have an approved stormwater pollution prevention plan for this project. So the stormwater basins will be revegetated with some sort of native meadow mix that will have pollinator, it has wildflowers in it. So I've seen ones, some of the mixes, and I'd have to look and see what mix
so
we're
if
using
that-
on this
if that-
project.
If that, because of the detention ponds, adds into maybe taking care of this stuff, and if that works, tell me.
Okay. That's the kind of thing that you're talking
Well,
about.
then, yeah, that's
Could potentially be what you consider that. So that it could be the type of seed mix that we use that would have.
Or it could be the type of, you would put those underground infiltrators in, or something along those lines that you can say, you know what, we've looked at this, we're putting in all the structural fill, we're changing the bank of the road, you're getting closer to the stream here. This is what we're doing to make sure that we mitigate the areas that we're disturbing within the buffer. That's all I want.
Okay. So I'll tell you what we're doing to mitigate impacts in the buffer, and you'll have. So the stormwater management areas, they're infiltration basins. So the way our stormwater pollution prevention plan works for this project, road runoff comes down, it gets collected, and this is, part of our approved SWIP. It gets collected into the drainage system. It discharges into this basin here, which is actually a pretreatment sediment basin. And then from there, all the sediment settles out, and that's how that works. And then this one is throw my glasses on, stormwater management basin. Oh, it's not telling me the type of practice. So then it settles out in there, and it actually spills into this one, which has a deeper basin in the bottom. I'd have to check and see what these types of practices are, but this one for sure is an infiltration basin. This one might also be an infiltration basin. So it actually goes through this practice, then through this practice, depending on the size of the storm, it'll overflow into this basin, and you get infiltration from that basin. So infiltration into, recharge of stormwater from the road back into the ground. And that's the way these work. And they are vegetated with some sort of meadow mix that has pollinator benefits.
And do you have a maintenance plan for these?
Yes, that's required as part of the SWIP. Yes.
Okay.
So why don't you
And
take
there's
us-
this one does that as well, and so does this one. So, this part upslope of here goes into these basins, and then once you get past this, it goes down and it goes into that basin. So the other thing we talked about last week, if you recall, you were concerned, that maybe we needed to divert runoff from the new disturbed areas. And actually built into the design of this is a diversion swale that picks up any runoff from this area and takes it into that stormwater basin right down there. And natural, the way the grading works out, this portion here actually ends up going into that same swale. You can see how there's a berm by the existing topography, and the grading goes into that and creates another swale that even picks up this area here. And there's very little contributing area on the downside of the berm. This is actually the top of the berm for the stormwater basin. We have this slope here. There's an existing stone wall here, which we're actually going to reconstruct portions of it to serve another purpose of diversion or dissipation of anything that's coming from this area. And what this plan doesn't show is all of the silt fence and erosion control measures that are going to be put in place prior to them starting construction of
Okay.
this. So, and that's just this portion of the subdivision road, that's adjacent to the watercourse buffer. And if you want, we can look at the trail plan, and really, I
So
have
you're
one.
here today for this road and the trail plan.
Yes, and there's one other piece, there's a stormwater basin from Lot 6A that's actually graded in the buffer. I'll show you that one too, but we'll do that one first, and then we'll talk, we'll do that.
Is that the one up and to the top left? There's another section of
There's
wetlands up over here or something like that?
there's a piece of
Yeah.
wetland, it's actually over there, see it's to the left of your finger, it's actually empty.
Over here
I'll
somewhere?
Let me pull,
Okay.
let me grab the plan.
Sure. So
It's easier to
the
look
two-
at the
There it
plan.
is.
the two biggest things that we were trying to
Yeah, let me grab the plan.
trying to mitigate from last time were this area here, and then there's this walking trail that goes
That's fairways.
sort of in the buffer, in and out, and then there's a pergola and a little
Right,
dock
dock.
over here. And so we talked about different ways to allow some of that to happen while still protecting, although you bring up very good points about the maintenance plan. I think that is something we should also, I don't know, figure something out about how to maintain these. There's, it's all going to be, I think, just a natural trail, if I'm not mistaken, except for a small part of it, which needed to
I'm
be,
gonna have to flip the page up to show you where it is, sorry, go ahead.
needed to be stabilized more for emergency services.
This location right here.
Got it.
So there's a wetland. So to look at this in context, right, Route 6 runs that way, and the bike trail comes right up here. So you can actually see this wetland. But we went out and we looked at this area, there's an existing building there with a gravel area right now, it's going to be removed. But you can actually, you can walk along the trail, and they put the trail through the wetland, or through the wetland, or the bikeway trail.
Of course they
But
have.
there's a stormwater basin going here in the buffer. I just wanted to show you the location in context, because in the plan, it's just a small window, and you don't necessarily, so there it is right there. So what this does, sorry about that. Don't think I have the overall grading plan all in one shot that shows you how that works. But, so the subdivision road continues on past that page that we looked at up here, and it feeds into the gateway site, which is up here on the hill. So, there's actually stormwater that comes down to a stormwater basin here that serves this, and it serves, the subdivision road, something along the lines of that. But it has a discharge into a swale, and the only place we had the right soils or the right grades to put a stormwater basin in is all the way down there in that location.
Oh, this
That's
connects over there.
That is
Okay,
a
okay.
continuation
Got
of
it.
this. See why I wanted to show it to you
Yeah,
on the overall plan? And so that picks up, that location is the pre-treatment sediment basin and infiltration basin for,
14 feet deep.
for water up here. So, stormwater runoff that comes from impervious areas up here.
And it's just is a like how is this swell being constructed? I mean, there's no piping that's coming down from this. This is all just ground, surface water that's getting hit on the swell and then going all the way down to here. That's a
Right.
far
Yeah,
distance.
It's piped a ways, and then it discharges to grade, and it's in a graded swale that goes all the way down there. Right, and all of these have been sized according to, the engineers have done calculations to size these swales, and they've been approved as part of the SWIP, so they've been reviewed by the town of Carmel, and we have,
All right, so the first part of this is the road. The second part of this is this.
yes, and that's actually, right, it's that piece over there, which is part of Lot 6A of Gateway Summit,
Okay.
right?
And the only area that's really concerning us, and for this particular area, is it's over in this area here.
Right, there's a separate
And
wetland.
there's a separate wetland.
Correct.
And are you within the buffer?
Yes, disturbance for this is within the buffer. Yes.
Okay, so-
And I can tell you the amount I have disturbance numbers for each of these, what happens on each lot.
Do you have the buffer on here somewhere?
It should be on there, sorry. I didn't highlight it, on there, but it should be. Yeah, so this is the wetland buffer, right here. See this line? There's a dashed line that runs
Right.
through.
So this,
And
everything,
these are the flags for the wetlands, and we
Right.
actually had this reflagged, you know, we thought maybe when they did the
Oh, I
disturbance
see.
associated with the trail and running, sewer connections through here, they may have disturbed some of this and it got smaller, but it didn't actually, the flagging was actually a little bit further out than we had previously thought, so,
so you just have to give us the area that you're
Yep,
disturbing.
we
here.
have that
And if
for
this
as well,
thing,
we'll
and if
provide that.
this, you know, is a swap, then it will work.
It's a what?
You know, if it takes care of the area you're disturbing, similar to what we were just talking about.
Right.
Just, you know, make sure
Well,
that,
and, you know, this basin as well, I mean, the stormwater management basins, they get seeded with, you know, a lot of times
Wetland
what I like
mix.
to use is like native, there's Ernst Conservation Seeds, I don't know if you've heard of them. They have a native steep slopes mix with, they usually have an annual rye or winter rye or something as a nurse crop. And in the native steep slopes mix, it's got things like, a lot of, warm season native grasses, and it's got some cool season things. It's got annuals and perennial wildflowers in it. And they, you know, they usually, it has a price point, and so they mix, they, sometimes the varieties change depending on, what,
okay,
you know, what, to keep the price within line, but you end up, it has the same intent. It's good for erosion control, and it provides, pollinator, you know, wildlife and pollinator benefits. So, and they're native species that are suitable in our area, and we use them on other projects in Carmel.
okay.
Just so that you know.
These are infiltrated. I know,
They're-
detention ponds.
They're
Detention ponds.
right. They have more specific names
Yeah.
than that, and honestly, I
Fine.
don't know what they're called right now, but they have, usually a small basin for pre-treatment sedimentation, and then a larger basin for infiltration.
Right. So here's the thing that's going
And
through my
there's a
mind.
maintenance plan here
And
as
there's a
well.
maintenance plan for this as well.
Here's the thing that's going through my mind, is under many circumstances, these would count, these types of things, right, detention
Would count
ponds, would
as-
count. However, they are being built in the buffer, right?
Right.
So I don't, I'm kind of on the fence of like, is it a wash? It's not really, it's encroaching on the buffer, and it's taking
Yeah, but
water
it's-
from a lot of other places and putting it
Right,
here.
but it's an enhancement to the buffer, right, to help the stormwater from other areas to be treated prior to infiltration, right?
True. Which is why I'm thinking, I might say, like, if we put bonds on the plantings in there for a certain amount of years, a bond, if they're putting down this special mix, right? And,
Do you
5, 10
provide us
years or
with the
something
mix?
like that?
Yeah, we can provide you with the mix. It should be on the plan, but, I would check that.
You know, in 5 years, I would want to make sure, or whatever, how long this board thinks is necessary, in 5 years or 10 years, whatever
I
it
have to
is.
check with,
See if we can do something
Joe.
like that, yeah. I'd be a lot more comfortable with saying like, all right, that's fine, like, we can kind of include that as, I'm thinking for the long term here, these are gonna, one, maintain for a long time, but two, they have to really contribute to the stormwater. I was looking, that overland swell you have is like 18, it looked like 1,800 feet. That is a long overland swell from there to here. Are you putting like rocks? Is it a rock bed or is it just a
So-
berm?
If it had riprap in it, it would show on the plan. There are other swales lined with riprap on the plan. So there's a certain slope. They do calculations, right? The engineers do calculations.
Sure.
And they do it actually in accordance with New York State DEC requirements. There's
Guidance.
guidelines for that. So when it reaches a certain slope or a certain velocity or a certain volume, and I'm not the expert
Fine.
on that, that's what determines
Whether you get that kind of
whether
stuff.
it's
Okay.
lined with riprap or not. And there are other, our grass swales all have some sort of lining in them. We put some sort of netting on it to protect from erosive volumes. But if it reaches a certain slope or one of those parameters, they'll line it with rock. So
Okay.
if this one is not lined with rock, then that wasn't required for the calculations for
Okay.
the swale. So,
That's fine. Fine with that.
so it would
So
be a
far.
grass swale,
Got it.
which is okay because those have benefits as well.
Sure, yeah, I'm not saying anything about that.
Yeah.
It just seemed like a very far distance.
It's all about the
You're talking about
numbers.
attenuating the flow?
Pardon?
Attenuating the flow because of the pitch?
Yeah, well, I didn't know if it was one is the pitch enough to carry it all the way down to a detention pond that far away?
Well,
Two,
and it
is
could be-
it too much and it's gonna erode? But I mean, I know the calculations that.
Well, and it could be that, you know, if you're saying, is the pitch enough to carry it all the way down? Well, it could be, if it slows down or there's not a lot of volume, it could infiltrate along the way.
Right, that's for sure.
So, which is good as well.
You're right, exactly,
So,
that's fine.
yeah.
We can move on.
Yep.
Okay,
I don't-
last piece.
All right, so let's look at the trail.
That's okay.
And I probably haven't been speaking in the
It
microphone.
reminds me of who I am.
My sign gets knocked over all the time.
I get a lot of things knocked over all the time.
So, all right,
Oh, you provided the deed, look at that, thank you.
you're welcome. So this one, hold on. All right. We'll flip the pages up. This is just a general overview to show you. So starting that first section of the trail, as it comes off the subdivision road, we're actually going to run that over the berm of the stormwater basin, the one down there that we were just looking at, right? And then it actually picks up we'll reroute it because the stormwater basin is going to go right here. That's where the existing trail is. So it'll come across the berm. It'll follow the existing trail because there's actually, if you look at the photos, there's existing trails through there. We were out there taking photos and a guy
You're
came
not
through
pa-
on,
I mean,
yeah, a guy
paving
came through on
this-
his bike.
Yeah, you're not paving it or.
No, we're
You're
not.
just leaving it alone.
So, we'll talk about the trail. I'm just showing you the route of it. So then that existing trail, and then you can see the dashed line through, this is lot 6B, so it comes across lot 6B. And then when it hits this property line, this is lot 7. So lot 7 goes over here, and it's actually part of the required recreation component for the Fairways, project. And trails tie into that from up here. And this is just, you know, a schematic on here, but I'll flip up and we'll see the sheets and you'll see how the topography works and what the layout of this is and how it lays in the land. And then we'll talk about the trail itself. So if I can flip the pages. So what this plan said is actually, when we got our wetland permit from New York State DEC for this work within the wetland buffer, we just put together a consolidated trail plan set because really all they were interested in is what we were doing adjacent to the wetland. But the site plans that we submitted, all this information is exactly the same on those plans. This is just consolidated into one plan. So I'm just presenting it to you because it's easier to talk about this
Right.
way. But really, the plans we're getting approved are the site plans, right? This is just for easy viewing. So back where I said, you know, that trail's going to go across the berm of that stormwater basin from the subdivision road.
Right here.
Yes, and actually, I didn't highlight it through this section, probably because it's tying, this is where the existing trail is. And then in this area, you know, this is what we're calling the walking trail. So the way the walking trail is intended to work, it's supposed to be minimally, provide minimal disturbance, and it's not going to impact any trees. This thing will shift in the field and go wherever it makes the most sense and provides no impact to major trees or any trees. And there should be no tree removal associated with this portion of the trail. And it runs all the way down towards the boat dock. Where the boat dock's going to go, you know, and that's what we call the walking trail. It's like 5 to 6 foot wide. They may do a little bit of grading if they need to level it out, because this was, of course, this was intended to be an active senior community. So that's the intention, and just if people are coming down here, we just want it to be safe and get people down to the water. You know, people on Lake Mayapack, which is a much more impactful type of development, you live there, you've got access to the water. And really, that's what these people want. It's just, it's a more natural setting, a much more natural setting. And all of this entire hillside is forest, and it's intended to remain forest. You know, all of this, well, yeah, all of this through here. You know, this is the grading associated with here upslope, but all the rest of this, it's buffer and wetland, and this is all wooded, and that's not intended to change as part of this. So, but anyway, so that's how this trail works. And one thing we had talked about was, you know, one of the things that Nick had said was, well, you know, can you put in upslope diversion swales or something like that to protect the trail or to protect, you know, the downslope areas from what you're doing with this? And there's actually, I highlighted them in yellow. There's old farm walls running throughout this thing that runs along the slope, and the trails kind of work their way around those, and sometimes they'll go a little bit closer, but we put them in places where it's the flattest, so that there's the least amount of disturbance associated with putting the trail in, and it, like I said, it'll work
But
its
there's
way
no
through the
construction
trees.
on this thing, we're just grading it out lightly.
Landscape equipment, minor grading, there's details on here that show you what that means. You
Can I
know,
see
just,
those?
it's just a little, yep. You know, and that's just this portion, and we'll flip through here and then we'll look at the details, unless you want to look at that first. But, you know, so it continues from that sheet along this one, and there's that connection I showed on the bigger plan that'll take, you know, it's just a walking trail. And in this spot here, it'll come down and they're going to put a little pergola sitting area, you know, and no heavy equipment is going to be used in this area. You know, we provided that information in the response letter that we gave because we were asked how that was going to be done and how tree removal would be done. And this is just a minimally, you know, lower impact landscape size materials, maybe a skid steer or something along the lines of that, just to, you know, work just to even this out a little bit. And it follows through along here. And they may like take down some dead trees and do a little bit of trimming because it is so, the vegetation is so dense in here, you can't see the lake. You get like little glimpses, so they may trim a little bit, but they're not going to be clearing. You know, it's
And you
not
put
that, they
that
can't do it
on
because
it?
most of the
Like that, yeah.
vegetation's in the wetland, and we can't clear in the wetland. DEC permit wouldn't allow that either. So they'll trim it down just so they can open up the view a little bit so you can see out, but it's really a nice peaceful spot. You're under the trees and it is flat and open in there. We provided pictures for this particular location and every, you know, and bunch of spots along the trails. You get a real feel for what it's like under there. So once you get over to this point, you can see the trail widens. So we had walking trail down to this point, and there was going to be a boat dock for people to, there's going to be a boat house for people to store their boats. That will be outside the buffer.
Canoes.
Yeah,
Only
canoes,
canoes.
kayaks, nothing power, and this is a fishing pier and a little spot for people to tie up. And so, but when we went for review with the planning board, it had to go to emergency service and the fire department for review, and emergency services requested that we widen this portion of the road and make it gravel in case they need to get emergency vehicle down here. So that's what we did.
So from
That was
here-
specifically at their
From
request.
here to there is
Right, from
gravel.
down there, you can see where it's wider.
From
Yep, all the
here.
way up.
All the way that way.
And this leads up
this
to
is
the
in
cul-de-sac of fairways.
in the
It's
buffer.
in,
That house
out.
is out of the buffer.
Right,
and this is in.
right.
All of this here is gravel, and there's a, you know, the pier there. That's
Yep.
impervious.
And actually, so if we looked at we can come back to this, but it's a good time to look at the details. So the pier itself, we've done this on other projects. They'll construct this with a top-down method. They'll work their way out, putting the pilings in and building the decking from the shore out into this. So it's a less intrusive method of installing this fishing pier. And as far as the, let's see, so in the sitting area and the pergola, it's actually going to be a roof over a gravel area. There's not pavement underneath it, so they'll just do a gravel layer, grade it off, and put poles in the ground with a little roof over top. Actually, it's a pergola, it's not even a roof. It's a pergola, so it'll be open, just something, just a little spot with a couple benches to sit in that area where we're looking over there. As far as the trail details go, so, there's a spot where there's a little footbridge. There's spots where it's a little bit wet because there's DEP water courses that come through here. And so it's a little bit wet and muddy. They'll maybe put some stones in that so that people can traverse it. It's not meant to be anything, or a little footbridge that's going to go over the top. And then as far as the walking trail goes, you can see over there on the lower left corner. There's a little bit of borrow on the high side and a little bit of evening out, so some minimal grading, that detail on the left. And then the detail next to that is the gravel trail that's more sturdy because they have to be able to get an emergency vehicle down there in case there's an emergency. So,
What's the construction on the deck?
Track?
what
Using
is the
tracks or
material?
using pressure treated or what?
That's a good question. It's terrible. I haven't looked at this detail since we put it on here a number of years ago. I know that there are, let's see, deck is continuous, talks about the fittings.
Stainless steel, yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
Who's the
Talk about the
developer on this?
So this is, the owners for the properties are Hudson Valley Realty and Par 4 Realty. They're CRI. Do you know Mr. Camarda?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so this is his property. These are his projects. And
Okay,
he's been the owner, and, these were his projects from the beginning. So, and he's been maintaining the approvals, and now, like I said, looks like the market is becoming favorable again, and we think that it may be finally moving forward, so we're hoping.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna want a bond on the walking trail, just from past experience. Like maybe a 5 or a 10-year bond, but I'm gonna check with my legal people. Because we've had a walking trail at another facility that was built,
In the
last
buffers.
15 years ago in the
And then it
buffer.
gets, yeah.
And like I said before, I have people.
Is it
coming-
open to the public? Because this one is just recreation provided for the people who live in this
Yeah.
Same
development.
with
There's
that
an
one,
HO,
too.
yeah, same deal,
Same
HOA
deal.
/ part of the,
Yeah.
so, yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
And
Well,
also
and the
we
other-
should look into the bond for
I have to check
the
into the
plantings, the seed mix and everything, and
yeah, I need the seed mix submitted.
I want to ask a question. I saw
I
something.
gotta write some stuff down here.
Sparked my interest.
Yes.
You're putting trail markers in for
Yes.
this trail. Mm-hmm. So,
Because it's not, I don't think we're even putting wood chips on it, so it's like a minimally
Right.
invasive
And we're gonna
thing.
want
And
some
we're just
good
gonna
with
have
that.
blazes.
so we had
Wetlands.
asked for that last time, but
Oh,
we
we
only
added those
asked
to the
for it-
plan.
How many did you add in?
So we were
I
asked to
didn't
put,
ask for a lot, but I was going to change that. But go ahead.
you asked for 3 or 4 by
Yes.
the sitting area and by the fishing pier. So we put 3 by the pergola, and we put 4 by the fishing pier.
Great.
Is what we did.
What I'd also like to ask is, anywhere that you're within the buffer, that you put one of those trail markers
Mm-hmm.
underneath the trail marker or on the same tree right with it, you also put a Town of Carmel wetland marker.
Yeah.
Meaning, if you're putting those up already, I was originally was like, you know what, just near here, I didn't think that I didn't want to put them have you put stakes in the ground in other places, but if you are putting up trail markers already, then anywhere there's a trail marker that you're putting in the buffer, I would love to see a Town of Carmel
Wetland sign.
wetland sign as well. I think that's important also as the years progress and people start lobbying their HOA to put other amenities down here, that they have an understanding that this
Right.
is a protected wetland.
Okay, so add the wetland signs as the wetland marker as well.
Yeah, wherever you cross into the buffer.
Okay, so not every location where this is, but where the trail crosses.
Crosses.
Because we actually have a layout on here of where these markers are going to go.
How many are you putting in of those?
Off the top of
You
my
know,
head, I don't know,
roughly?
but they're on,
50, 100, 200?
I don't think
1,000?
there's that many, so. You're asking a lot of good questions, but I don't know the answer to that, and it should be on this
See, like
plan,
here.
where
you
those are gonna
have
go.
this whole area here is in the buffer, right?
Oh, yeah, see, everywhere we put one of these, see that sign? And
There's
I don't
one.
know if we called them all out, but,
There's 2, 3.
Proposed trail marker,
Oh, there you
proposed
go.
trail marker, proposed, I'm
Right.
saying, anywhere there's a proposed trail marker within the buffer, I don't care if you're crossing or not, put one of these there too, so it's.
okay, it
it's
just calls
clear.
out that you're in the wetland
You're in the
buffer.
Right.
wetland.
Okay, so we'll do it with that in the same locations. Okay.
And keep the
And
ones
there's
that
no
are
way to
around.
move this, see, there's no way to move this trail up out of the buffer, right? Or is it just a grading?
It has to do with the steepness of the slopes.
that's-
And, you know, and the amenity, I gotta tell you, is the wetland and the lake. And so, you know, putting the trail further up the slope, it's not gonna have the same
Appeal.
of value, yeah. You know, the amenity is the buffer. And if you walk through here, it makes perfect sense to put it where we're showing it, because that's the spot.
And there's
you
already a
know?
trail that's in part of this
Yeah.
area on the other side, right?
There is. So
you
there's,
saw a bike
there's
there.
actually a trail that runs through here. Like I
Yeah.
said, we were out in this area somewhere over here, and a guy came by on a bike.
Right. Yeah, I
So
appreciate all
they
the
come, they
pictures,
come
by the
from
way,
this,
they're great.
this area up here. I think there's some other development beyond the end of this, and they come through
Yeah,
and go all the way out, and
I
probably
live
hit the
over there.
bike trail. Yeah. So,
So can you tell us a little bit about the wall, stone wall? So what are you gonna be doing with that? Because last time we had talked, you said that there were some that you wanted to include as part of the mitigation here and protection. And then there were also areas that you said that you believed that they were going to be actually like restacking the stones that have fallen down or building up new ones to connect it. I wasn't sure if you had
So-
any additional details on that.
okay, so we actually addressed that in the narrative. We took photos of the different spots. So
Yes.
there's one section at the front where we show on the plan that they're going to be restacked. And that was below the grading for that stormwater basin that I pointed out earlier when we were looking at the grading for the stormwater basin as part of the Gateway subdivision road, right? The rest of the walls in here are actually in pretty good condition. There are spots where it may have tumbled down, but to go through and restack, you know, it's actually part of the character of it. You're in the middle of the woods, but
So just give us a detailed explanation of sequence of construction, of how you're gonna construct this trail within the buffer and outside the buffer. So tell us the type of equipment you're gonna use, you know, you show the detail that you're putting down, gravel, 6 foot of gravel over here, you see that detail, but there are, you know, you're not gonna store the equipment within the buffer at night, no refueling within the buffer, you know, something that says that, you know, if you stop work halfway through that day, you pull everything out, or you're
Right.
stockpiling it on a 6 mil poly, the equipment's not gonna be sitting there that, you know, you have a rupture or something, you got a spill kit on site, stuff like that, just put it
okay,
in the
so
letter.
we added, it's actually in the letter, and we provided notes on the drawing about, parking equipment out of the wetland buffer. At the end of the day, there needs to be either on plywood or on a tarp.
Well, we're at-
There's supposed to be a spill kit on site, and we have notes to that effect, so let me just find where we put them. I believe they're on this plan. And they're also on they're on the site plans, on the erosion control plans with the construction sequence notes. So,
Should
we
we cross
added
out
these
so,
notes right here, right by the construction sequence notes for
Okay.
this, you know, and like I said, this is just a set of trail plans, but the gateway plans and the fairway plans and the subdivision road plans have their own version of these notes that relates to those particular ones, and they're with the phasing and the construction sequence.
Okay.
So I still have a concern about trees. There are 124 trees to your estimate that are going to be removed in order for the grading to take place as well as the trail, the pergola, and the other improvements that you have.
This is a development, it's not.
So.
We can ask for,
Yep.
like, as part of the mitigation of the wetland buffer, you can include plantings as part of our, you know, mitigation or the asking for remediation.
So for the trail itself, this portion of the trail that runs across the top of this wall, we actually, it tells you in there specifically how many trees we expect we're going to remove
Yep.
from this area, and I don't remember what it is. But because we're doing this piece of road here, there's more grading, there's more improvements, and there's a bunch of trees growing above that wall. So they're going to have to come out in order to accommodate this because we can't shift this trail
Sure.
to miss the trees. The rest of the trail, we're not taking out any trees for that. We do expect that we may be removing maybe a
Like
half a dozen
120
trees in this
you're
area.
taking out.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Well, so those trees are coming out for the subdivision road grading and for that stormwater basin
Right.
at the far end of Lot 6. And I think it tells you specifically how many trees are coming out in each of those
Yeah, it
areas.
says 45 in Area B,
Right.
Yep.
There's 2 6s, there's a 45,
there's
there's another
6 in
20.
Area G.
Yeah, there's a lot of trees. So what I'm saying is, forget about, if you don't have the place to plant within the buffer, would you consider finding other places to plant more trees? I mean, you have a pretty big subdivision lot going on here.
So, I started counting the trees that we're planting as part of the development, street trees, landscape trees, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
evergreens for screening, but that's all up as part of the developed area. And there's quite a few, I don't have the number, but it more than compensates for what we're removing.
I mean,
but
it doesn't
Well,
compensate for the
well,
hundreds that
okay,
are going to be
it's the
removed
same,
as well.
right, it's the same number of trees as we're taking out in the buffer. It's actually more than the number of trees we're taking out in the buffer. But I didn't bring those numbers because I didn't think that was relevant
Right.
for this. So,
Are they gonna plant new trees in the development?
yes,
That's what I'm saying.
That's part of the approved
Removing
site plan.
500 trees to put all this in, I mean, if they're putting in 100, I don't know
yeah,
if
as
I
far
would
as the
count that as
development
part of
goes,
the-
we're meeting the
Sure, yeah, I
requirement
have
of the
no
town, of the town
qualms
code.
about that at all.
Right.
That's not our purview.
Right.
But what I am saying is that if we're removing trees here, one of the ways that you can help mitigate the fact that we're doing a bunch of disturbance, especially towards the road area, and removing 125 or 30 trees, something like that, within the buffer, is by planting trees upslope from this around as another means of, trees add for a lot of erosion control, but also water retention. So it's an option. You have that option. I would love to see it exercised. If you don't want to include that, that's your purview.
Prerogative.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we did actually consider that strongly, and, one of the reasons I mentioned how heavily wooded this area is, if we're planting tree seedlings underneath that,
Did you
it
get the
really
DEC
doesn't need it.
approval
There's,
to remove the trees within the buffer?
so.
Or is that part of
We,
your SWIP?
we submitted so most of the trees that are being removed within the buffer, well, okay, so let's step back. They approved this plan.
Okay.
And it includes because we have to remove trees to get this portion of the trail in, so yes,
All right.
yep. But they have specific notes on their permit, which I think we submitted with our previous submission.
The SWIP?
Not the SWIP, the DEC permit, the wetland permit.
And we have the copy of the permit in the file, right?
Yeah, you should. I know we've submitted it, and Rose has it at least for the
Town engineer.
planning approvals, site plan approvals. If it's not in the ECB, we can certainly share that with you, but I think we included in our initial
And did Rich
submission.
did Rich approve the SWIP?
Yes.
I need to see that approval as well.
Okay. I don't know if Rich approves the SWIP. It may have been approved before he was town engineer, but the SWIP has been approved as part
Okay,
of the
well, when was that
approval.
SWIP written?
I'm not sure. That's a good question. I don't know the answer
So
to
we
that.
had to find out when that SWIP was submitted and approved, and does it need to be updated? If it's 10 years old, and it was approved 10 years ago, we'd have to, I'd like to at least have it refreshed, right, at the very least?
I don't know what the regulations are for that, but I can certainly ask about it.
Yeah.
But we have coverage under the DEC general permit for the project. That's still maintained, so. But anyway, back to the trees. It is such a heavily wooded area. I I believe I finished what I was saying about that. In,
Does anybody else have anything they would like to ask?
No, I'm good.
So, then,
so is it too
what I
early?
need from you is, I need the area disturbance for each lot.
I can give you that right now.
To provide the mix. Well, give it to Rose.
Okay.
Because she's going to have to put it for the record.
Mm-hmm.
The no heavy equipment in the area, we know. The
No
bond
overnight
for
parking.
maintenance, I'll have to
Wait,
find out.
one was area of disturbance, two
Area
was
disturbances provide the mix.
seed mix,
the
right?
seed mix.
Yep. Yes.
Wetland markers. Give us a
Yes.
count.
Okay.
You put spill kits.
Count the
You know,
wetland markers and
I'm gonna look at
provide,
the bond for the
you said and
maintenance.
provide,
Spill kit.
Spill kit.
yep. Okay, so there's
She
notes
said
on the
that.
drawing about providing a spill kit already.
Okay, no
Great.
problem.
Okay.
And then look at reevaluate, see if you can just reevaluate your plantings for trees and stuff. Other than that,
And he's, we're gonna look, the board is gonna inquire about bonding
Bonding.
for both, the trail as well as the detention, seed mix on the detention ponds. What are the plantings on the detention ponds or whatever.
right.
Okay, so I'll have to talk to Rich about that because he may require bonds for this, the
Well, he'll
stormwater
require
maintenance
bonds
areas.
for some areas, but
But for,
I
for
want
the
a
stormwater
special
maintenance.
bond for the, again, I've been here a few years.
If
No,
there
no,
is a
I know,
bond
but
already
he
on the
may
same
already
things.
require us to bond for the stormwater practices,
Okay,
but
but
I'll
that's
check
the
on that.
stormwater practices.
Right, well, and that's the seed mix on
Right,
there
but then
because,
that's gone. But then when you're done with it, you install it, whatever the bond period is for that period of time, great. I'm concerned about the trail,
the trail, right,
the maintenance of the trail.
right, no, I understand that, but you had also said the seed mix for the ponds,
Well, he
so.
wanted
Yeah, I'm saying the
swales.
detention areas. The
The
detention.
swell- the detention areas.
So you're saying that you're saying that there may already be a bond on that?
There may already be a bond required for
Well, we'll check.
maintenance,
Okay,
for
all right.
maintenance,
Yeah,
right, but we
we'll
can check on
If
that,
that's
right,
the case,
That's
that's
the
no
case,
problem.
it is.
okay.
And then then we
See
just
how
check-
long it is.
Then we look at the bond for the, then we look at the bond for, the trail.
You said they SWIP
for the
and
trail.
approval, right? You need to include both those?
Yeah, I need to see a copy.
I didn't see
approval
them,
for
I didn't
SWIP.
see it in the
Yeah, I
file.
didn't see it in the file.
Okay,
And
so
then-
we probably didn't submit it for this to you, we probably didn't
I
submit
need
it
a
to
copy of
you.
all permits,
And the
Okay.
DEC
approval,
permit, yeah,
all
DEC
DEC
ones.
permits.
Okay, we can give you a copy of the coverage letter for the construction activity general permit.
That's perfect.
I know Rosa has it in the file, and
She can
for the
probably
planning
just
board approval.
put a
And the
copy
other
on it.
DEC permit we have is for the wetland, which I believe we already submitted to you,
Okay.
for the wetland permit.
For the
so.
wetland, well, you submitted a wetland permit request for us.
Yeah, but I thought we gave you a copy of the DEC permit as well, because we had to get a new permit from them. Our original permit with them expired, and we had them come out and verify the delineation for the DEC wetlands, see, there you
You got
go,
it.
in 2019, and we had to do a new application for a wetland permit from them, which they granted in 2020, and there it is. So, and they got a bunch of conditions in there as well, so.
May I ask, when does the applicant expect, or want to, let me rephrase that, want to start this work?
I don't know that. I don't have that answer, honestly. So,
There's another consideration, I mean, I know that's also included with the entire site, but there are better and worse times during the year to obviously do this.
oh, you're talking about timing of year? So there's actually a tree cutting time restriction in the
Excellent.
DEC permit.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm familiar
Right, we
with
have to do, yeah, and I'm sure it has to do with the bats, so,
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yep.
the bats and the
Yes.
birds
the
and the
bats
bees
and the bog turtle.
and the bog turtle.
yeah, there's no bog turtle, don't say that. There's no bog turtle.
I was looking for a bog turtle a few years ago, I couldn't find it.
Gotta throw it in places.
I was thinking of,
Oh,
like a landmine.
that's terrible. We had a project,
I
and
know.
I won't tell you where
Just
there was
kidding.
bog turtle habitat.
Really?
And we had to do we had to have a consultant do a phase 1 and a phase 2, and there were no bog turtles. The town hired him, and there were no bog turtles, but it was suitable habitat.
Great.
But anyway,
Poor
but
turtles.
not in your
Yes,
town.
but so you also, you're not sure, like, is this something that, like, it may happen in the next few years, or it may happen in the next few, like, months? Like, do they want to start working on it this year? In the this remaining 6 months of this year?
I'm sorry, I honestly, I don't know where it is, as far as that goes. We've
The
just been
property-
asked to get a wetland permit, and like I said, all the other permits are up to date, so.
Understood. Do you know if the applicant is looking to do this work themselves, or are they looking to sell this? You may not know that, like, sell this as a plant, okay.
Sorry,
Not a problem,
I don't
not
know
a
the
problem.
answers to that, those.
You don't need the
that's-
answers to it for us.
That is above
Yeah.
my pay grade,
It's above, below my pay grade, above my pay grade.
above my pay grade. So-
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank you.
it.
So I guess it's too early to ask for a complete application, we need to give you the
Right.
rest of the stuff.
Yep,
We definitely
Okay.
need this vote.
bingo.
All right, even though we addressed all your comments from the last meeting, you have new ones, we gotta
I'm
address
doubting, I have
those.
to find out about the bond,
Okay,
so,
Also, this was the first time you showed us the details for the wetland up here.
okay,
all right?
it was on the plans, but I guess I didn't present that.
Swell
Okay,
and all that.
good, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I guess we'll resubmit and come back and see you again.
Perfect.
All right.
And next time
lovely.
it'll be easier.
Yeah.
No problem, this is fine. That's what I'm here for, answer questions.
The shell answer.
Big project. This is a big
This
project.
is a big,
Okay,
All right, lovely.
thank you.
Thank you.
Sign back up.
No problem. I just remembered who I was. Okay, next item is an escrow return for George Chang, which is to replace existing house and driveway at 21 Frederick Street. The engineering department performed an inspection of reference property. The project has been stabilized for years and the escrow can be returned. Do I have a motion to return the bond for George Chang? at
Make
21
that
Frederick?
motion.
Motion by Ed, second.
I second.
Second by Nicole, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, next item is meeting minutes. Approve the meeting minutes for July 1st, 2021. All were present. Do I have a motion to accept the meeting minutes for 7/1/21?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the next one is for the meeting minutes of July 15th, 2021. The only one that can't vote is you, Ed Barnett. So do I have a motion to accept the meeting minutes for July 15th, 2021?
So moved.
I'll second that motion.
Second by Anthony, made by Nick. All in favor?
Aye.
I can't say aye.
You can't say aye, you can say me.
To me,
Me. Okay, with that, the only application we have, which the extension of the wetland permit is number 1, which we're going to shelve for tonight because the applicant was not here to answer questions. So that permit expired on July 30th, 2021, so they're late. So do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I make that motion.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, everybody. Good night. Have a safe weekend and be safe. Good night.